Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling, well, a huge paradox in the nonprofit world. It's this idea that the people who are most passionate about their mission, about changing the world, are often the ones most bogged down by just the mechanics of it all.
Exactly. And our mission for this deep dive is pretty radical. We're looking at sources that uncover, a surprising truth.
Which is?
That a nonprofit's biggest donor, it might not be some big foundation. It might actually be hiding right inside its own operating costs.
I love that framing.
Yeah.
So we're going on a treasure hunt for lost resources.
That's the core idea we're exploring. All our research points to the same thing. Mission-driven teams are just exhausted, but they're not exhausted by the big, complex problems they're trying to solve.
No, it's the small stuff.
It's the small stuff, the sheer operational drag. So our goal today is to lay out a kind of shortcut, a way to unlock all that hidden capacity and turn it directly into impact.
Okay, that phrase, hidden capacity, I think that's key.
Yeah.
Because we're not just talking about wasted time. We're talking about energy and focus that should be going toward the mission, right?
Precisely. The core frustration we see again and again is that you hire someone for their empathy, their strategic mind, their ability to connect with people.
They're human skills.
They're uniquely human skills. But then they spend, maybe a quarter of their week just acting like a human router copying data, chasing calendars. It's maintenance work that actually gets in the way of their real purpose.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Before we jump to the solutions, we really need to feel the pain here. What is this draining, busy work? Where are all these hours actually going?
Well, the sources are painfully specific because these problems are just universal. The biggest one, manual data entry. You've got your donor platform over here, your email system there, and then your CRM, maybe something like Salesforce, and none of them talk to each other, not automatically anyway.
So you have a great donor meeting, you're energized, you've got amazing notes, and then you immediately face 10 minutes of just tedious copy-pasting to get it into two different places.
Right. And that's the best case scenario, where you do it right away. More often, you put it off.
Of course.
And then it's Friday afternoon, and you've got this backlog of 30 records to update. It's not just a time burn. It's a huge risk for human error. It is organizational friction personified.
And what about just communicating with donors? The basics.
Oh, that's another massive time sink. Think about just the simple act of saying thank you. We're talking about copy-pasting the same acknowledgement emails over and over again.
Or, tweaking a template just slightly for a different donation amount. It feels important, but it's totally robotic.
It is, and it requires zero creativity. A machine could handle that initial trigger and routing so much more effectively, freeing up a human to write a real personalized note to a major donor later.
My personal pet peeve, and the research really highlights this, is the calendar chase. You finally get a major donor interested, and then you spend 3 days and 12 emails just to find a 15-minute slot that works for everyone.
That momentum killer, it's just brutal, and it makes the organization look inefficient right when you're trying to impress someone.
So this leads to your bigger point. This isn't just about lost time, it's about lost impact.
That is the critical shift in thinking. The cost isn't just that you're paying a senior staffer's salary for them to copy and paste.
Right, there's a bigger price.
A much bigger price. It's twofold, really. First, you have the human cost. This constant grinding administrative work leads directly to burnout and, high turnover.
People leave because they signed up to change the world, not to update spreadsheets.
Exactly. And second, and maybe more importantly, is the lost opportunity. All this busy work keeps your best people away from face-to-face fundraising, away from building those key relationships. That's where the real value is created.
So it's like we're paying our most talented, passionate people to be data processors instead of relationship builders or storytellers.
That's a perfect way to put it. You're taking this highly specialized asset, a human being with empathy and judgment, and you're wasting their best skills on tasks that are fundamentally robotic.
Okay, that frames the problem perfectly. But when leaders finally admit they're drowning in this stuff, the next step is almost always hesitation. They hear the word automation, and they immediately hit a wall.
The automation myth, yes, it's pervasive, and it's often fueled by past trauma, you could say.
Ad tech experiences.
Exactly. The assumption is that to fix these deep operational problems, you need a Silicon Valley budget. You need to hire a whole IT department or start some year-long implementation project.
Which, for a small or mid-sized nonprofit, is a complete non-starter. The risk feels way too high, the cost is terrifying, and they have to keep delivering their programs day to day.
And that fear, while understandable, really needs to be challenged. Because what the sources make very clear is that the tech landscape has shifted dramatically. The solution today doesn't require these huge custom-coded projects. That was the reality maybe 10 years ago. It is not the reality today.
So if the tech is more accessible, where does that perception of high cost still come from?
It's often from legacy systems and, frankly, outdated consulting models. A lot of organizations are running on older, clunky systems that do require expensive specialists to touch.
And those specialists often sell the most complicated solution possible.
Right, which just reinforces the myth that automation has to be hard and expensive.
So the way to debunk the myth isn't about finding a cheaper developer. It's about finding a completely different, simpler path.
Precisely. The solution today is about having a clear roadmap. It's about making the tools you already own work harder for you. Almost everyone has a CRM, a calendar, an email tool. The problem is they all live in their own little silos.
Okay, so how do you build the bridge between those silos without a $1 million budget? What does this seamless integration actually look like for a team on the ground?
This is where modern, accessible tech comes in. We are not talking about hiring 6 engineers. We're talking about using low-code or even no-code platforms.
So user-friendly tools.
Very user-friendly. Tools that let your own staff build simple if this then that rules. Like if someone fills out this form on our website, then automatically create a contact for them in our CRM.
It's like digital plumbing. You're just connecting the pipes that are already there.
That's exactly it. You find the 1 or 2 biggest bottlenecks, the place where data gets stuck 100 times a week, and you build a tiny targeted automation right there. You automate the chore. You don't have to rebuild the entire house.
Let's get to the financial argument then. Because for a nonprofit, that's often the hardest pitch to a board.
Yeah.
If we invest in this, where's the payoff? This is where we find that hidden donor you mentioned.
This is what we call the efficiency dividend. The moment you stop paying your specialized staff to be manual data managers, the return is incredibly fast.
So let's talk numbers. The research suggests a pretty significant recovery of staff time.
It's huge. Across the nonprofits studied, teams got back somewhere between 18 and 25% of their work week. So when we say you can get 20% of your week back, that's not just a nice round number. That's a proven average capacity gain.
20%. That's an entire day a week.
Yeah.
For every single person. That is a transformative amount of capacity to inject into an organization.
And that recovered day immediately goes back into the core human work. It goes into meeting with major donors, writing thoughtful stewardship reports, planning the next big thing.
Okay, but I have to push back a little here. Is there a risk that by automating things like thank you emails or intake forms, you lose that human touch that nonprofits depend on? Are you trading authenticity for efficiency?
That is the single most important question to ask. Because, yes, automation without a human strategy is cold and lifeless. The sources are very clear on this. Automation should handle the mechanics, but humans must always own the meaning.
Give me a concrete example of what that balance looks like.
Absolutely. Let's take that 204/7 donor engagement idea. Automation can ensure that when a potential donor fills out a form on your website at, say, 11 p.m. on a Sunday.
When no one is working.
Exactly. They instantly get a personalized but automated thank you email with some resources, and their information is immediately logged and scored in the CRM. The machine handles that first touch so the opportunity isn't lost.
But the human still has a critical role.
The human has the most critical role. Your staff member comes in Monday morning and gets a notification. Hey, high-value lead came in. We've handled the initial triage. Now it's your turn to schedule a coffee meeting.
So the staffer is freed from the mechanical part and can jump straight to the strategic part.
Yes. They can immediately start thinking about that person, personalizing their outreach, and making that real high-touch connection that only a human can. The friction is gone.
Let's touch on that financial piece again. We used the phrase zero overhead earlier, which can sound a little too good to be true. What do we really mean by that?
We need to be precise, you're right. When the sources say zero overhead, they mean zero new administrative salary overhead. You don't have to hire a new person just to route data around.
But there's still investment.
Oh, absolutely. There's an investment. You have subscription costs for these integration tools and maybe a small setup cost. But you're substituting a predictable, scalable software cost for the very high, very volatile cost of human administrative labor.
And the ROI is measured in more than just dollars.
Much more. It's measured in staff retention. It's measured in burnout reduction, and it's measured in the sheer volume of mission outcomes you can now achieve because your people are focused on the right things.
So we've gone from this idea of busy work being a silent leak of resources to see how automation can turn an organization into a really streamlined engine for growth.
And if you connect it to the big picture, what you're really doing is enabling your staff to evolve. They stop being data administrators, and they become true relationship builders, strategic thinkers. The machine handles the mechanics so the person can handle the mission.
That feels like the true opportunity. It's about using technology to protect your greatest asset, the dedication and talent of your people.
It is. It's an investment that pays for itself not just in efficiency, but in the realization of human potential.
So with that in mind, and knowing you could get 20% of your week back, we want to leave you, the listener, with one final thought to explore. What is the single most important human-centric task, the one thing a machine can never ever do that you would prioritize to scale your mission?